doing here?
I'm giving out sauce for free.
Free sauce? Who are you?
I'm JB Cuts, and I'm gonna show you how you can be better than barbering.
1, 2, 3, hit me!
Alright, I got my boy Trigger in here, finna get to it. He gonna get a wavelength cut, like a little lower than wavelength, but he got the wave spinning, and I'm just gonna get him a 1A on top and taper out the sides. Alright, I'm gonna comb through his hair right now, analyzing his scalp. I cut his hair all the time, so I know he don't have anything wrong, but I usually look for contraindications still, just so I can make sure he's good for a cut. And now I'm gonna start on his lining. I'm gonna make sure I go straight across the line, even though he has a light spot. Okay, I wanna make sure them baby hairs still hit. Okay, because when I take it down, I wanna make sure it's still bulky and thick in the front, so you can still see the lining, so it can still show real clear. Okay, you're gonna see me going across this line, and I'm not making sure I go inside of it. I'm making sure I go straight across. Okay, you want to be able to use your T-liners, the T-blade on the liner to the fullest advantage. What I mean by that is you want to try to make sure that the blade is going straight across every time. I'm lining up the bars right now. The bars, I want to make sure that I keep them symmetrical to the bone that's above the eye. Okay, you see I'm aiming the bottom blade towards that bone every time I hit the side. And you know I start my Chicago C. Just making sure everything's clean and it's even. You see you got one side that's light, so I'm just making sure you can still see that it's still hit, like the baby hairs are hit, you know, because I'm still going to take the hair down, so it's going to show a lot better. Sanitation comes first and foremost, so we're gonna clean off our blades. Okay, I use some air spray and I use 5-in-1. I'm gonna start my taper. I'm gonna first start out with my closed masters on my cordless masters. Okay, I usually start out with that because once you take your liners and put a guideline in with your liners, you gotta have a way or a formula to take it out. So what I recommend for barbers that I would recommend for you to use a clipper of your choice, so you can use it till its full advantage to take your guideline out with the same clipper. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I'm putting my guidelines in, making sure they clean. I want to make sure the guidelines are clean going straight across. Okay, and I'm gonna come underneath and ball with my liners after. I do this because I want to make sure that I don't create weight, a lot of bulk. Okay, I'm going to go up 1 inch with my lever open on the masters. That's equivalent to like a 1 blade. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. Okay, and I go up so I can see and leave room for transition. Okay, I see my client has a short neck, so I'm going to open it up a lot more so you can see a better transition and so his neck can appear longer. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. That's like 1, 2, 3. Okay, you'll see I'm fading this out first. I always put my guidelines in and fade out before I start taking the hair down. So I could use that same clipper to take the guideline out like I stated before. Okay, now I'm going to take his hair down. I'm using a 1A blade, and I'm using the Andy Supras. I like the Supra because they 5 speeds, and depending on the hair texture, you can change the speeds, get the perfect speed for the texture that you have, because if you have it too high on more fine hair, it'll cut it off a lot more than what you're expecting it. Okay, you see my client, he in here spinning, waves popping. I'm just making sure I go with the hair flow, the hair stream. One, two. see right now, I'm taking my client's hair down, but I'm not going too much to the front because I see that he's real light. So this is a type of effect or blend that I create with clients that have issues with that liner or that's like real light in the front. I always kind of hover over or keep the length in the front way more bulky so it can appear darker.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Guys on the track, on the track. 1, 2, 3. Not like 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1.
Alright, I'm gonna start out with my 2-blade on this blend for this taper. I'm making sure I also get behind the ear. Okay, because I want the fade effect to come from the top to the bottom, okay? And I throw my 1.5 on there and come right underneath that too, and make sure I still get right above that ear so I can see that effect. Okay, I'm just debulking, taking the bulk out so you can start seeing the transition.
2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Whatever blade that you go against the grain with, you can lay the hair down with the blade that's underneath it. Okay, so I went against the grain with the 1.5, and now I use my 1/8 to lay that down. And then I took the 1/8 and went against the grain to continue my blend.
1, 2, 3.
Okay, and I put the 1 on there, and I'm staying underneath that 1/8 blade.
2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Not like 1, 2, 3.
Okay, and then I took the 1/8 against the grain, so now I'm using the 1 to help lay the hair down in that section only. Okay, with the fading on the tapers, it's section. So I went 2, 1.5, 1/8, and now I'm on my 1. And I started from the top and working my way back down to that line so we can get a clean blend. Now I'm going to go back to my masters because that's what I put the line in with. So I want to make sure I'm able to take that line out easy and we don't see any lines. I'm laying it down and I'm halfway. And I closed it. I'm gonna do the same thing on this side. As you're gonna see the section is my 2.
Not like 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Making sure I get behind the ear as well.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Now I'm gonna lay that down with the 1.5 first because that's the blade that's above it. And then I'm gonna start attacking underneath where I stopped at with the 2.
1, 2, 3. Not like 1, 2.
Making sure I debulk and making sure I hit right above that ear is very crucial. So you can see that nice transition on that blend. Okay, I'm gonna take my 1/8 blade and I'm gonna go right underneath that 1.5. You can see I'm using my corners. Okay, I use the corners. That's like a way to check to make sure that you're not taking off too much hair. So if you see a problem, you fix a problem, you're using the first 3 blades on your clipper. Okay, now I'm gonna lay the hair down with the 1/8. Okay, now I'm gonna go against the grain right underneath the 1.5. You can see that the transition is already coming out. I'm making sure I hit the bottom first because I want the bottom to definitely be lower than the top. So I'm gonna start that transition. Any dark spots I see, I'm hitting with corners. Okay, now I'm gonna take that 1 blade, go underneath that.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Take my masters, go to the 0/8, the 3rd notch, start taking that bulk out, then hitting the 2nd notch. And as you can see, I just work my way all the way to the bottom. So you can start seeing that transition of that blend. And then I'm gonna open it up, start raking that weight out that I see.
2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
While using elevation, so the clippers wasn't flat, I elevated a little more to give me a lot of more room off of the blade. so I can cut less hair.
1, 2, 3. On the track, on the track. 1, 2, 3. Not like.
Alright, now I'm gonna get back to this back. I'm gonna do the same technique, but the bottom is already faded out. Okay, I'm gonna start with that 2. Start taking that bulk out, and I'm gonna work my way back to the 1.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Got the 1.5 on there right underneath the 2. Starting to decrease that bulk using elevation.
2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Now I'm gonna put my 1A on, and then I'm gonna lay the hair down.
1, 2, 3.
Now I'm gonna go against the grain with the 1A and start taking out more of that bulk.
1, 2, 3.
See me move the comb with the blade simultaneously. Stroke, stroke, comb, stroke, stroke, comb. Just making sure that it's allowed me to see the hair flow and knowing that I'm taking off the hair in the right direction. So when he do brush or comb his hair, it's still in place, like you still be able to see a clean fade. Okay, as you see me work it through, I'm seeing the problem, fixing the problem. Never when I'm blending is the whole blade on the head.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Alright, and I'm gonna clean up this bottom. I'm gonna take my 1 and make sure everything comes together.
Not like. 1, 2.
As you can see, we got a steel blade and a moving blade. So a lot of people stop the blade short. Okay, we want to make sure we pass through it and get the hair to the moving blade so it can actually cut. Okay, I want to make sure the hair is laid down, making sure everything is even one last time. Mustaches always start at the bottom. We want to make sure we start them at the bottom, because if you start at the top and you bring the mustache down and then you take the hair off from over the lip, then you might make it too thin. So we just want to make sure we save ourselves from disaster, because your client, I'm pretty sure, would not like that. Okay, now this is the process when I start balding underneath. I'm doing this in one go, taking all the hair off the face. And I'm balding underneath to get that clean look. It's going to create a whole different transition for us. Make sure you remember to flick out once you get close to the fade in the C-cut motion so you can see the transition. Okay, what I'm doing right now, I just cleaned this lining off. I want to make sure all the hair and residue is gone before I start adding any enhancement. I want to clean his lining up one more time, making sure he knows that it's there before we start and that it's clean.
1, 2, 3.
Okay, the spray that I'm using is Royal Black.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
I want to make sure I got a nice even coat on there.
1, 2, 3.
The sprays come out a little moist, but I usually use fiber.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
And as you see, we got a nice even coat around the lining with the spray. Now I'm going to apply fiber to calm down some of the wet look and to make the lining look a lot more natural.
1, 2, 3. Not like. 1, 2, 3.
You see, I don't use a card for the fiber because I want a nice natural look. I don't want it to look too much caked up in the same spot that I put the spray. More so I want to make sure I evenly disperse it from out of the atomizer. Now I'm going to go back and hit that lining one more time to get that clean look. Fabulous Gold FX is hidden. Like I said, you line your bars up to the side with the bone. You going just based off of your client's facial structure. Hit the other side, making sure that's clean.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
I use a brush to take off the excess fiber from off the forehead before I try to use the razor.
1, 2, 3.
Now I got razor. I'm keeping the razor on a 30-degree angle.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Making sure I pull the skin tight.
1, Nas on the track.
Look at that blend. Look at that line. It's coming together. Same thing on the other side. I'm gonna go with the grain in the front. Take off any excess hair. Area right here, you want to make sure that you have the area lubricated, and you want to use your thumb to pull the skin back. Hey, you see how I'm working it across as I go across. I'm just making sure everything is lined up and crispy, looking congruent, making sure he fresh, ready to pop out. Alright, I just want to make sure all the lines are clean, making sure everything's cleaned up. There's no excess hair left around the ears or on the neck. Got that fade coming out. Make sure you see the trickle one more time. Get behind the other side. Technique that I'm using for behind the ear, how you call it, turn the doorknob. I make sure I turn right and turn left with the corners, because you never want to try to put the whole blade on it, trying to turn and curve the side, because you will end up getting the blade into the hair. So we want to make sure we curve that. Alright, now you see the effect coming off from the fade. And what you want to do with a shorter neck, you want to make the neck pier longer. So that's what I did. I raised the tape up just a little bit more so it can look good for my client in his head shape. Alright, last but not least, I'm going to take these shears and do my cleanup. I'm going to just make sure I go over the head and making sure I'm looking through the head to get the excess hair that I see poking out off. The only finger I'm moving is my thumb. And it just get a haircut, so overall clean look. Like, you want to do this on every haircut you finish, because it give it that polish, like that pop. And I'm going to make sure I go over the front, all the excess hairs that I left standing up. You know, I could even it out and make sure it's good quality. Clean them off, and we done. So look, make sure y'all go like and comment, and make sure you subscribe to my channel to come get this sauce. I'm giving out free sauce. I told y'all every time it's gonna be a whole different banger. I'm gonna give you a whole different element on all type of education. So make sure you come back, subscribe to the channel for this sauce. Fuck it, got to be.